Well, hi, and welcome to Kinesiology 552, Advanced Study of Sport and Exercise Psychology. My name is Vicki Grooms-Denny, and I look forward to being your instructor for this term in this course. As we begin, let me just give you an overview of Chapter 1, just some general concepts. I encourage you to go back and read through the chapter as well before you take your quiz. As we begin this chapter, the question is, how can we overcome self-destructive behaviors? And we do live in a culture that demonstrates many self-destructive habits. And we are actually killing ourselves with these habits. And it's costing us not financially, but ultimately costing us our lives with poor choices. An example would be obesity, something that's very controllable, but because people have poor eating habits coupled with lack of exercise, obesity in our country has reached epidemic proportions. So the question is, even though people know certain behaviors aren't good for them, why do they continue to practice those self-destructive behaviors? And then how can we, as fitness and health professionals, help them? And so I'm not going to answer that right now because pretty much the rest of our course will be striving to give you information and research-based evidence that will help you help people who are struggling with these self-destructive behaviors. Well, let's define some terms as we begin. You are in the health fitness profession. And if we're speaking about fitness psychology, basically we're looking at what are the personal and situational or environmental factors that interact that influences exercise performance and helps improve fitness. So we're going to be looking at those personal and situational environmental factors that does influence exercise performance and improving one's fitness, and also how to apply these factors to help promote exercise participation and long-term adherence. And ultimately, as professionals in the field, our goal is to help our clients, our patients, our students, our athletes. Our goal is to help them with exercise participation and long-term adherence. Health fitness psychology is a field that is very much interrelated to fitness psychology. In health fitness, we're addressing the effects interventions have on exercise participation and adherence. So you can see how fitness psychology, looking at promoting participation and adherence, and health fitness that focus on interventions and adherence, how they really do complement each other. Chapter 1 gets into the psychological benefits of exercise. But it's interesting to note that there are some personality traits, such as trait anxiety, trait anger, self-esteem, that are somewhat stable across different situations, and they are long-term. And so these traits are not necessarily susceptible to the exercise effects or other short-term treatments. But there are many other mental states that are influenced by both acute, which is immediate, and chronic, which is long-term exercise behavior. So let's focus on some of those mental states. Our textbook presents 6 different mental states that are influenced by exercise. Mental states are psychological states that are influenced by exercise. Stress, state anxiety, again, not trait, but state anxiety, mood, self-esteem, cognitive functioning, and depression. So each one of these mental states we're going to look at in a little more detail to see how exercise has a positive effect on them. So one benefit of exercise is that it reduces stress. And this has been documented in both short-term, which would be considered a single bout of exercise, or long-term exercise programs that would cover weeks or months or even years. But both types of exercise actually reduces both acute stress, which is the immediate stress we might face, and chronic forms of stress. Exercise has also been shown to reduce state anxiety. And again, what is state anxiety? Well, anxiety, it's different than stress because anxiety has that sense of fear. Someone's fearful. I'm fearful of the future, what might happen, what might come my way. And so someone who possesses state anxiety would be worrying about something coming up in the future. There will be a fear of the unknown. Again, this is different than what trait anxiety would be, where trait anxiety is more of a personality trait that someone would carry across situations, across circumstances. State anxiety deals with a certain circumstance or situation. So again, trait anxiety is that personality trait and is stable across all situations, and it's not amenable to change. And someone that has high trait anxiety, they're just wired. They're just predisposed to perceiving harmless situations as threatening. And again, it's important to note that exercise will not change trait anxiety. It will not change trait anxiety. Exercise will change state anxiety, but it will not change trait anxiety. So again, state anxiety is that emotional state of worry that a person might have as they're interpreting something that's going to happen in the future as threatening. It's a state that they're in. Stress, however, is a feeling of immediate event or situation, whereas state is more, I'm fearful of the future, something happening in the future. Stress deals with the immediate here and now. And another way to look at anxiety is acute versus chronic. Acute anxiety is short term. We might become anxious over something that's going to happen next week, whereas chronic anxiety is something that stays with us for a longer period of time. The good news is that exercise, particularly aerobic exercise, helps reduce both short-term and long-term state anxiety. The good news is that the research, as it deals with exercise and anxiety, one study by Brzelo and others in 1991, they found that even a single bout of aerobic exercise, okay, just one single bout, can reduce state anxiety. That's really good news. Obviously, involvement in a longer-term aerobic exercise program can remarkably reduce state anxiety. So a one bout of exercise that's aerobic, as well as longer aerobic exercise programs, both showed reduced state anxiety. And aerobic exercise seems to be the key in benefiting a lot of different anxiety disorders. Disorders such as panic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and even clinical depression. So aerobic type exercises seem to have a benefit to helping people deal with anxiety. So when you think about it, it makes sense that getting into some exercise would help reduce state anxiety. The distraction or timeout hypothesis tells us that exercise reduces stress and anxiety because we actually take a mental timeout. And we've all experienced this, right? You're stressed, you're anxious about something, and you decide you're going to go out and do a run. And as you do that run, you become more absorbed in the actual exercise experience, which takes your thoughts off of the unpleasantness of whatever you're facing. So that distraction or timeout hypothesis is really one that I'm sure you've experienced. The third area of psychological benefits to exercising is improved mood. And when we define mood, we're looking at a situation characteristics that can range from immediately, like the here now, to up to 1 week in duration. And we know moods are subjective. They consist of your thoughts, your feelings. We usually measure it by the situation. And research on the effects of exercise on mood have focused more on the immediate, because that's what mood is. It's more of an immediate characteristic rather than a long term. And the research that's been done with exercise and mood has been very substantial, and there's full support that mood enhances as we exercise. And specifically, what's improved is vigor, reduced tension, depression decreases, anger subsides, confusion improves, and fatigue wanes. So these are the specific areas of mood enhancing effects as relates to exercise. So why does exercise change mood? The evidence is pretty strong demonstrating that. Well, there's physiological and psychological reasons. Psychologically, as we exercise, we have a sense of a better self-concept. We have higher feelings of self-efficacy. There's enjoyment. Just the expectations that we're out exercising and we're going to gain certain benefits because of that. Just getting away and getting away from the hassles. And there is a sense of increased self-control as you go out and exercise. So those would be considered the psychological mechanisms. And then obviously the physiological mechanisms, what's happening to the body as you're exercising, the cortisol, endorphins kicking in, the biochemical changes that do occur are going to boost your mood as well. There are 4 hypotheses that may help explain why we do have mood change as we exercise. The endorphin hypothesis, which again, the idea that endorphins are being released into our system, boosting our mood. The distraction hypothesis, which is what it says. As we exercise, we are distracted from whatever it is that's bothering us, and so our mood is enhanced. The thermogenic hypothesis is an interesting one. It basically says that as we increase our core body temperature, as we're exercising, that may be responsible for reductions in anxiety because it reduces our muscular tension and it actually alters neuron activity. I find that a very interesting hypothesis. And then, social interaction, just the fact that we're out interacting with other people can help boost our mood. So those are the 4 hypotheses that are presented. The 4th psychological benefit to exercising is improving our self-esteem. Self-esteem is just our self-worth. It's how we feel about ourselves. Our self-esteem is obtained from several different sources. But as we exercise, it seems to have a psychological benefit to our self-esteem. And we know that positive self-esteem is associated with good mental health. And exercise is more likely to improve someone's self-esteem if that person considers exercise as a source of enjoyment. They feel a sense of achievement or accomplishment by improving their performance and fitness. And they're more likely to improve their self-esteem because exercise is related to good health and obviously improve physical appearance. So those are all factors involved in improving one's self-esteem as they exercise. So by way of review, we're looking at the psychological benefits of exercise. So far, we've looked at how exercise improves stress, anxiety, mood, how exercise improves self-esteem, and number 5 is cognitive functioning. And when we talk about cognitive functioning, we're talking about the entire process of how we take in information, how we interpret that information, how we think about that, how we store it, how we make decisions about what to do next, and then the actual executing of that plan. So when you consider all the fullness of what exercise can do as far as improving our cognitive functioning, very strong evidence supporting exercising, helping our cognitive abilities. And finally, the 6th psychological benefit supported through the research is that exercise prevents depression. Depression is that mood disturbance that includes disorders that influence mood regulation. Depression is extreme, and the good news is exercise has been shown to help reduce symptoms of depression. And these benefits are extensive as it relates to not just the remedy of depression, but it's also the prevention of depression. So again, as we review the psychological benefits, stress, state anxiety, mood, self-esteem, cognitive functioning, and helping with depression. The psychological benefits of being involved in a exercise program. Besides the psychological benefits, obviously we know there are physical benefits to exercise as well. You've studied these in other classes. There's the cardiovascular benefits of exercise, the strength gains we get through exercising, and the improved flexibility. We're not going to go into great detail with those physical benefits because, again, you have studied those in other classes. And since this class is a psychology class, we wanted to focus more on the psychological benefits in Chapter 1. So even though we know that exercise has so many positive physical benefits and so many positive psychological benefits. The question is, why do we keep having unhealthy habits? We know exercise is good for us. We know that exercise is medicine. So why is it that people don't exercise? And one thought is that when we go about an activity, we kind of weigh the benefits and the consequences to that behavior. And that the benefits of an unhealthy habit are experienced more quickly, almost immediately. And the consequences of a bad behavior or a bad decision sometimes takes years, such as I want to eat that bowl of ice cream tonight, even though I really don't need it. Well, the immediate benefit of that is I want it, it tastes good, I deserve it. But the long-term consequences, if I have that bowl of ice cream every night, wouldn't be good for me. But again, we weigh the immediate self-satisfying benefit right now, right here, and kind of block out the long-term consequences of that behavior if I continue to do that. And that's one idea of why people continue to be unhealthy. So as we finish up chapter 1, and as we approach this class this term, the primary purpose of this class is to help you help them. You as the professional health and fitness person, you who yourself practice good health habits, you who already involved in an exercise program, so you're a good role model. The purpose of this class is for you to be able to help them, to assist those people who will be under your care in your profession, to help your clients, to help your patients, to first of all, acknowledge their unhealthy habits, to face them, and then to replace those unhealthy habits with more desirable, healthier routines. And that's really what the challenge is for all of us, is to help those who need the help. So as we begin our course, I hope that the whole psychological side of exercise and fitness you'll find interesting. I know I do. And we'll be moving forward looking at specific theories and how they apply to the area of exercise